Just as she turned to reach for the salt, she heard footsteps behind her. "Oh, so you're the famous Addies," a voice said, smooth and playful. Addiesi turned quickly and saw a tall young man leaning on the kitchen door. He wore designer jeans, a white t-shirt, and a gold wristwatch that shimmered under the sunlight. His skin was fair, and he had a charming smile that looked like it came easy to him. "Yes?" she said politely, trying to focus back on her cooking. "I'm Chittybear, Mrs. Naka's son. I just returned from Abuja last night, and this morning I smell a goosey. You must be the new cook she mentioned." "Yes, I am," Adesi replied, keeping her eyes on the pot. Chittybear stepped inside the kitchen without invitation. A pretty girl who can cook? That's dangerous," he said, grinning. "Are you sure you're not trying to steal my mother's heart?" Adesi chuckled politely but stayed focused. "I'm just doing my job, sir." "Please call me Chittybear," he said smoothly, leaning closer. "No need for sir. We're all family now, aren't we?" Adesi didn't respond. Her hands worked quickly, adding crayfish to the soup, trying to stay calm. She wasn't used to this kind of attention, and she didn't like it. "I hope Chidioki is treating you well," Chittybear continued. "You know, some village girls come to Onitsha and end up suffering more. But someone like you—" He paused, looking at her closely. "You deserve better." Adese looked up, her face calm but firm. "Chidioki is kind to me. He treats me with respect." Chittybear laughed softly. "Respect is good, but don't let respect block your blessings." She turned back to the pot. "Excuse me, please. I need to concentrate." Chittybear watched her for a few more seconds, then smiled and walked to the door. "All right, Chef Adesi, I'll let you finish your magic. But I'll be around. Maybe we'll get to know each other better." As soon as he left, Adesi let out a deep breath. Her hands shook slightly as she turned off the gas. She didn't like the way he looked at her, as if she was a toy, not a person. That evening she told Chidioki everything. "He said I deserve better," she said, eyes filled with worry. "It made me uncomfortable." Chidioki clenched his jaw but remained calm. "Chittybear is playful, but he won't touch you. You're not alone, Adais. If he ever crosses the line, tell me immediately." Adais nodded. "I just want peace, that's all." Chidioki gently touched her shoulder. "And you'll have it. I promise." But in her heart, Adais felt a shift in the air. Something had changed, and though she didn't know exactly what Chittybear wanted, she could feel trouble coming. The days that followed felt different. Adais tried her best to ignore the way Chittybear's eyes followed her whenever she passed through the main house. She focused on her work, cooking, cleaning, serving meals. But deep inside, her peace had been shaken. It started with small things. A compliment here, a wink there. Chittybear would show up in the kitchen just as she was finishing a task, leaning on the doorframe with that same confident smile. "Chef Adès," he'd say, "you must be using love potion in your food. How come I can't stop thinking about your egusi?" She would smile politely but never encourage him. Still, he kept coming. One afternoon, Adès was alone in the kitchen when Chittybear entered again. This time he was holding his phone. "Come and see," he said. "I took this picture of you while you were cooking yesterday." Adès was surprised and uncomfortable. "You took my picture without asking?" Chittybear shrugged. "You looked so beautiful, I couldn't help it. I think you were made for better things than just cooking in this house." "Please delete it," she said firmly. Chittybear raised his hands in surrender. All right. No need to be shy." He tapped his phone and walked out, but Adès still felt uneasy. That evening, she sat quietly on the bed while Chidioki swept the floor. She couldn't keep it to herself any longer. "Chidioki," she said gently. He looked up. "Chittybear is making me uncomfortable." Chidioki frowned. What did he do this time? Adès explained about the photo, the comments, and the way Chittybear kept finding reasons to talk to her. "I don't like the way he looks at me. It feels wrong." Chidioki sat down beside her, clearly disturbed. "Adaize, I won't let anyone harm you. Chittybear is used to getting what he wants, but you are not an object. You're not available. and I'm here to protect you." "But he's Mrs. Neka's son," a daisy said. "What if he gets angry?" Chidioki placed a gentle hand on hers. "Then we deal with it. If it gets worse, I'll talk to Mrs. Neka myself." The next day, Chidioki gave Adaise some space. He wanted her to continue her work, but also to feel safe. Meanwhile, Adaise tried to avoid Chidiabear as much as possible. She would prepare the food early and leave before he came around. But Chidiabear didn't give up easily. He began leaving small notes for her in the kitchen. "You're too beautiful to be hidden. Think about a life of luxury, not struggle." Adaise tore them all up. One afternoon he blocked her path at the kitchen door. "Why are you running from me?" he asked, his tone playful but persistent. "I'm not interested," she said clearly. "I'm with Chidioki." Chidiaberry scoffed. "With Chidioki? That boy brought you from the village. That doesn't mean you owe him your life. You deserve more. You deserve someone like me." "I deserve peace," she replied, "and I already have it. Please leave me alone." Just then, Chidioki stepped into the hallway and saw them. Chidibear turned to him with a mocking grin. "You better hold your village wife tight before someone else does." Chidioki didn't say a word. He walked to Adaise, gently took her hand, and led her away. That evening they sat in silence, holding hands under the mango tree. "I'm not afraid," Adaise whispered. "You don't have to be," Chidioki replied. "As long as I'm here, no one will touch you." But in their hearts, they both knew something bigger was coming. Trouble was knocking at the door, and it wore a smiling face. It was a quiet Wednesday morning, the kind that started with soft clouds and slow winds. Adaise had finished sweeping the kitchen and was about to start boiling rice when she heard footsteps behind her. She turned around, and there he was again, Chidibear. This time he looked more serious. No casual smile, no teasing. He wore a neatly ironed shirt, and his cologne filled the air. In his hand, he held a small black envelope. "I've been thinking," he said, stepping closer. "It's time we talk properly." Adaise kept her hands on the pot, refusing to meet his eyes. "I told you, I'm not interested." He ignored her words and placed the envelope gently on the kitchen table. "Open it." Adaise hesitated but picked it up. Inside was a stack of crisp Naira notes. New notes. A lot of them. "What is this?" she asked, confused and angry. "My offer," Chidiberry said smoothly. "Naira, connections, travel, a better life. I can give you everything you've never had." Adaise took a step back. "Why would you give me this?" Chidibear folded his arms. "Because I want you. Be my girlfriend. Forget Chidioki. You'll live like a queen, wear the best clothes, fly to Dubai if you want. I'll even help you get into any university of your choice." Adaise stared at him, shocked. "You want me to sell myself?" He smiled. "It's not selling, it's choosing a better life. Look at you, young, beautiful, smart, but stuck in a boys' quarters, cooking and struggling. You deserve more." Adaise's chest rose and fell with emotion. She held the envelope for a moment, then slammed it back onto the table. "No." Chidibear blinked. "What?" "I said no," she said, her voice steady. "You think money and gifts can buy my heart? You think I'm so desperate that I'll betray the one person who treated me like a human being?" Chidibear's expression changed. His smile faded, and anger replaced it. "Do you know who I am? Girls beg to be in your position." Adaise stepped forward, her eyes shining with fire. "I am not one of those girls. I came from pain, yes, but I have peace now. I have respect, and I have dreams. You can keep your money. You can keep your connections. I don't need a man who tries to buy me. I need a man who sees me." Just then, Chidioki walked in. He had been standing by the kitchen door, listening. He walked in slowly and stood beside Adaise. "She said no," Chidioki said coldly. Chidibear looked at him, then at Adaise. "So, this is how it is?" "Yes," Adaise said firmly. "This is how it will always be." Chitty picked up the envelope and walked out without another word, his face tight with pride and anger. After he left, Adaze let out a deep breath and sat down. Her hands were shaking. Chidioki knelt beside her and held her hand. "I'm proud of you," he said. "I was scared," she whispered, "but I had to say it." "You were brave," he replied. "And you stood your ground." That evening, as the sun sank behind the buildings, Adaze felt something she had never felt before: strength. She had said no to money. She had said no to disrespect. She had chosen herself, her dignity, her peace. And as Chidioki gently held her hand, she knew this wasn't just survival anymore. This was the beginning of her true freedom. It had been a week since Chidiabear's proposal, and Adaze had tried to put it behind her. She focused on her work, always avoiding Chidiabear's presence. But the tension in the house was impossible to ignore. Chidiabear had become more distant, and Mrs. Neka had noticed Adayezi's discomfort. One morning, after Adayezi finished cooking and cleaning the kitchen, Mrs. Neka called her to the sitting room. Adaze walked in nervously, unsure of what to expect. "Sit down, my dear," Mrs. Neka said kindly, patting the seat beside her. Adaze sat, keeping her hands folded tightly in her lap. "I can tell something has been troubling you," Mrs. Neka said, her eyes warm but serious. "What is it, Adaze?" Adaze hesitated, her fingers twisting the hem of her dress. Then she decided to speak up. She needed to be heard. "It's Chidiabear, Ma. He's been making me uncomfortable. He keeps coming around, making comments, and last week he offered me money and a better life if I would leave Chidioki and be with him." Mrs. Neka's expression shifted slightly. There was no immediate surprise or anger in her eyes, just a quiet kind of understanding. She took a deep breath before speaking. "I see," she said slowly. "And how did you respond?" "I told him no. I'm committed to Chidioki, and I don't want anything to do with Chidibear's offer. I don't want money. I don't want anything that comes with disrespect." Mrs. Neka nodded thoughtfully. "You did the right thing, Adaze, but—" Adaze's heart sank. There was a but coming, and she wasn't sure she was ready for it. "But," Mrs. Neka continued, "I also want you to consider something. Maybe you should rethink your rejection of Chidibear's offer. He has connections, wealth, and power. You've struggled all your life, and here's an opportunity to change your life completely. Think about it carefully." Adayazi's eyes widened in shock. "Ma, what do you mean? You want me to accept him? After everything he's done?" Mrs. Neka's tone softened. "I didn't say you should accept him, Adazi, but I am saying you should consider it. What if this offer is the best thing that could ever happen to you?" Adazi stood up abruptly, her hands trembling. "I don't want to live my life for someone else's approval, Ma. I'm not interested in riches that come at the cost of my dignity. I would rather struggle than live a life where my heart is sold." Mrs. Neka sighed, her expression unreadable. "You are a strong girl, but remember, sometimes the world doesn't give you choices. Sometimes you have to make hard decisions." Adizi shook her head. "No, Ma, I don't need riches or power to be happy. I only need peace, respect, and love. And that's what I have with Chidioki." Mrs. Neka didn't argue. She simply nodded, but Adazi could see a flicker of concern in her eyes. It was as if she wanted Adazi to understand something more, something deeper. But she didn't push the issue further. "Do what you think is best, Adazi," she said softly. "Just know that life is not always as simple as it seems." Adazi nodded and walked out of the room, her heart heavy. She had thought Mrs. Neka would support her, but instead, she had given a different kind of advice, one that felt like a betrayal. Yet Adazi knew she had done the right thing. She would not let anyone take away her voice or her values. The next few days were tense in the house. Adaze couldn't shake the words Mrs. Neka had said to her. It had felt like a test of her morals, a choice between what was easy and what was right. But no matter how much money Chidibear had, no matter how much power he could offer her, she knew deep down that she couldn't betray herself. That evening, As she and Chidioki sat together, she decided to share everything. Chidioki, she began, her voice quiet but firm. I spoke to Mrs. Nika about what happened with Chitty Bear. Chidioki looked up, his face serious. And? She said I should consider his offer. Chidioki's brow furrowed. What? She told you to accept it? Adaise nodded slowly. Yes. She said I should think about it carefully, that it could be the best thing for me. Chidioki's face tightened with anger. She's wrong, Adaise. You've come this far without needing anyone's help, especially not someone like Chitty Bear. I know, she said softly, but it shook me, Chidioki. It made me question if I'm making the right choice. Chidioki took her hand, squeezing it gently. Adaise, I will never ask you to choose me over your dreams, but don't let anyone convince you that you have to sell your soul to live a good life. You don't need Chitty Bear's wealth or power. You're already strong, and you're already on the path to something better. Adaise smiled at him, the weight on her chest easing. I don't want to live in a world where money controls everything. I want to live with integrity, Chidioki, and I'm not going to change that for anyone. Chidioki nodded in agreement. And I will always stand by you, Adaise no matter what. That night, Adaise lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. She had made her decision. No amount of money or power could make her lose herself. She would leave if she had to, but she would never compromise her values. The following weeks passed in a blur, and the atmosphere in the house grew tense. Mrs. Nika had stopped speaking to Adaise about Chitty Bear, but the distance between them was palpable. Chitty Bear, too, seemed to avoid Adaise, though she often felt his eyes lingering on her whenever they crossed paths. One afternoon, as Adaise was washing the dishes in the kitchen, Chidioki came in, holding a small envelope. His expression was serious, but there was a glimmer of hope in his eyes. Adaise, he said, walking toward her. I've been saving up for a while now, and I think it's time you knew. Adaise looked at him curiously. What is it, Chidioki? He opened the envelope, revealing a stack of money. Adaise's eyes widened. This is all I have, Chidioki continued, his voice steady but filled with emotion. It's not much, but I want to use it for your education. You deserve to go to university, Adaise. I want to see you fulfill your dreams. Adaise blinked back tears. She had never expected this, never thought that Chidioki, with his simple job, would have been able to save up so much for her future. Chidioki, I don't know what to say. This is incredible. I know it's not enough to pay for everything, but it's a start, Chidioki said, his voice steady. I want you to have the chance to live your dreams, Adaise. You're so much more than this house, more than the life we have now. You deserve everything you've ever hoped for. Adaise's heart swelled with gratitude. She knew how hard Chidioki worked, how much he sacrificed just to make ends meet. And now, here he was, offering her the chance to better her life. It wasn't a luxury or a quick fix, but it was something real, something built on love and trust. Thank you, Chidioki, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. But there's something else I've been thinking about. This money. Instead of using it all for school, what if we used it to start something together? A business. We could rent a new place, set up something small, something we can build together. I've always wanted to run my own business. Maybe this is our chance. Chidioki looked at her, his eyes lighting up. You want to start a business? Yes, she said, her face lighting up with excitement. We don't have to wait for the world to give us opportunities. We can create our own. Chidioki smiled, the weight of his own dreams shifting into something more hopeful. I love that idea, Adaise. You're right. We can build our future together. For the first time in a long while, Adaise felt a sense of excitement, a sense that everything they had been through, the pain, the struggle, was leading to something beautiful. She wasn't alone anymore, and together with Chidioki, they would start a new chapter. The next few days were filled with planning and discussions. They looked at different locations, explored business ideas, and worked on a budget. Slowly but surely, they began to map out their future, side by side. In the evenings, they sat together on the porch, dreaming about what their life could be like, a life where they weren't dependent on others' approval, a life where their hard work and love for each other created the foundation for everything they wanted. "We can do this, Chidioke," Adaise said one night, her hand resting in his. "I believe in us." And in that moment, Chidioke knew she was right. They could do it. Together, they would make their dreams come true. It was a Saturday morning when Mrs. Neka and Chidibere came to the house. Adaise was in the kitchen, preparing breakfast when she heard the familiar footsteps approach. She wasn't surprised. There had been a shift in the house lately, and she knew it was only a matter of time before they would confront her again. Chidioke stepped in from the hallway. "Adaise, Mrs. Neka and Chidibere are here. They want to talk." Adaise's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't sure what to expect. After everything that had happened, after the uncomfortable encounter with Chidibere and Mrs. Neka's strange advice, she didn't know what to feel. Still, she nodded. "I'll be right out." When she walked into the sitting room, she found Mrs. Neka sitting with Chidibere. Both of them looked uncomfortable, as if they weren't sure how to approach the conversation. Mrs. Neka stood up and gave Adaise a soft smile. "Adaise, my dear," she said. "I wanted to apologize for the way things went. I shouldn't have suggested what I did. I was wrong." Chidibere shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He avoided Adaise's gaze, but his voice was sincere. "I'm sorry, too. I let my pride get in the way of what really matters. I shouldn't have pushed you." Adaise was silent for a moment, absorbing their words. The tension in the room was thick, but she could see the sincerity in their eyes. Still, there was something unspoken in the air, something that neither Mrs. Neka nor Chidibere had yet revealed. "You both hurt me," Adaise said, her voice steady but firm. "You made me feel like I wasn't enough, like I had to prove myself to be worthy. But I've learned a lot from all of this." Mrs. Neka's eyes softened. "I understand, Adaise, and I'm truly sorry." Chidibere finally met her eyes. "I didn't mean to make you feel that way. I thought I was helping, but I wasn't. I'll make things right." Just then, Mrs. Neka turned to Adaise with a hesitant look. "There's something else. Something I should have told you a long time ago. Something important." Adaise's heart raced. What could this be? Mrs. Neka had always seemed like a motherly figure, but there were many things she hadn't shared. Now it seemed like the time had come for the truth to finally be revealed. "I don't know how to say this, but," Mrs. Neka began slowly, "Chidioke isn't just any man. He's actually Chidiabere's older brother, and I'm his mother." Adaise's eyes widened in shock. "What? But why didn't you tell me?" Mrs. Neka lowered her gaze. "It was complicated. I didn't want you to feel confused or betrayed. But the truth is, I should have been open with you from the start. I'm sorry for keeping this from you." The revelation hung in the air like a heavy cloud. Adaise was stunned. Chidioke had kept this from her. But as the pieces of the puzzle clicked together, she realized it didn't change the love she had for him. It only deepened the mystery of their relationship and the complexity of their lives. But what mattered most was that Chidioke had been true to her, and he had always treated her with respect. She took a deep breath, looking at the two people in front of her. "I don't understand everything, but I forgive you, Mrs. Neka. And Chidibere," she added, her voice calm, "I appreciate your apology." They nodded, both looking relieved, but still carrying a weight of regret. But Adaise had made her peace with the past. Now, she had to focus on the future she and Chidioke were going to build together. The days that followed the revelation were filled with silence and quiet reflection. Adaise had taken some time to process everything she had learned. The fact that Chidioke was Chidibere's older brother and that Mrs. Neka was his mother was a lot to take in. It made her wonder about the reasons behind their actions and how much of their past had influenced their present decisions. One evening, after a long day of planning their future business, Chidioke sat beside Adaise, a serious expression on his face. He reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. Adise, I know this might be hard for you to understand. I should have told you everything from the start, but I was afraid. I didn't want to lose you, he began, his voice filled with sincerity. I never meant to keep secrets from you, especially not something as important as this. Adaise looked at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of emotions. She had been hurt by the secrecy, but she could see the guilt in his eyes. You should have told me, Chidioki, she said softly. I could have understood, but hiding things only made it worse. Chidioki nodded, regret in his eyes. I know. I was scared of what you would think. Chitty Bear and I have always had a complicated relationship. I didn't want to involve you in all of that. But now I see that the truth would have been better from the start. Adaise smiled faintly. It's okay. I'm not angry anymore. I understand now. What matters is that we move forward, together. Chidioki pulled her into a warm embrace. I promise, Adaise, from now on, there will be no more secrets. You mean everything to me. In that moment, Adaise realized that despite the complications, their love was stronger than the lies that had been told. They would rebuild their trust, one step at a time. A few days later, Adiese's father, Mr. Nwachukwu, called her. She hadn't heard from him in months, and the sound of his voice brought a wave of mixed emotions. Adiese, he said, his voice softer than usual. I know I haven't been the father you deserve. I've made so many mistakes, and I want to make things right. Adiese's heart skipped a beat. She had never imagined her father would apologize. After all the pain he had caused her, she didn't know how to respond. I'm listening, Papa, she said cautiously. I've been wrong. Adise, I should have treated you better. I've thought a lot about everything, and I know I failed you. Please, can you forgive me? Adise's mind raced. This wasn't what she had expected. For years she had carried the hurt from her father's cruelty, and now he was asking for forgiveness. It felt surreal. I forgive you, Papa, she said, her voice trembling. But I need you to understand that my life is different now. I've found my own path, and I will no longer allow myself to be hurt by your actions. Mr. Nwachukwu was silent for a moment. Then he spoke again, his voice filled with regret. I understand, Adise. I'm proud of you. I just want you to know that I'm here if you ever need me. Adise felt a sense of peace wash over her. It wasn't the reunion she had once dreamed of, but it was enough. She had set boundaries, and now she was free from the pain of the past. Time passed, and Adaise's life took a turn for the better. She and Chidioki worked tirelessly to save money, build their business, and plan for their future. They found a small but cozy house to rent, a place where they could call their own, free from the weight of the past. And then, one bright morning, the news they had both been waiting for came. Adaise had been accepted into medical school. After years of hard work, determination, and sacrifices, she was finally on her way to becoming a doctor. It felt like a dream come true, and she couldn't have been prouder. The day of her graduation arrived, and Chidioki stood by her side, his pride shining through his eyes. As Adise walked across the stage to accept her degree, she saw Chidioki's beaming face in the crowd. He was the one who had always believed in her, even when she didn't believe in herself. After the ceremony, they celebrated together. Chidioki pulled her into a tight hug. I knew you could do it, Adise, he said, his voice filled with emotion. You've worked so hard for this. I'm so proud of you. Adise smiled, her heart full of love for the man who had supported her through everything. We did this together, Chidioki. You've always been there for me. As they walked out of the graduation hall, they were greeted by an unexpected surprise. A brand new car sat parked outside, a gift from Mrs. Neka, who had apologized for her past actions and wanted to make amends. Along with it was the key to a beautiful mansion, an extravagant reward for their love, their hard work, and their perseverance. This is for you both, Mrs. Neka had said, smiling warmly. You deserve this, Adise and Chidioki. You're more than a son to me. It was a moment of triumph, a moment that proved how far they had come. From the dusty village of Arochukwu to the heights of success, Adais and Chidioki had built a life filled with love, hope, and unwavering commitment to each other. The year was drawing to a close, and Adais and Chidioki were happier than they had ever been. Their business was flourishing, their love was stronger than ever, and their future was filled with possibilities. One evening, as they sat together in their new home, Adaisi looked up at Chidioki, her heart racing with excitement. "Chidioki," she began, her voice filled with joy, "there's something I need to tell you." He looked at her, concern in his eyes. "What is it, Adais? What's wrong?" Adaisi took a deep breath, a smile spreading across her face. "I'm pregnant, Chidioki. We're going to have a baby." Chidioki's face lit up with pure joy. He jumped up from his seat and lifted her into his arms, spinning her around in excitement. "You're serious?" he asked, his voice full of wonder. "Yes," she laughed, her heart swelling with happiness. "We're going to be parents." Tears of joy filled both their eyes as they embraced, knowing that this new chapter in their lives was about to begin. The struggles of their past had shaped them into the people they were today, and now they were ready to start a family built on love, respect, and everything they had fought for. As they stood together looking out over their future, they knew that no matter what came their way, they would face it together, with love, hope, and a dream for the life they had always deserved. Click the subscribe button now to get notified first on our next story.